PD sessions this summer. So this type of format has started to become the new normal for all of us. And so we know kind of how to navigate with that. But I want you to thank you for being here in this networking session. This is basically a follow-up from Monday's session. It was a content session. And one of the things when we started this whole process out, the content sessions we thought were going to be interactive where we could talk like this. Then we found out we weren't at the last minute, we were not. So we put this session in to give you the opportunity to provide more feedback and ask questions, because I know how we are as ag teachers. We like to ask questions. We like to get clarification. And we have a lot of information. That session was very context rich, a lot of information. I've already received a lot of emails for clarification, and there's a few things that I do want to go over with you verbally here on to clarify a few things. And so after I do that, then we will have open mic session, Q&A, to ask me any questions that you may have of anything that we went over or anything else that you just may want to ask about ag education and where we're at. And so anything is open for that type of question during the remainder of the session. So with that, what I will mention, first thing following up is with pesticide points. When you get looking at pesticides, one of the things that I do want to mention is when you go to the Tennessee Department of Agriculture website, you need to be going over and looking at the correct site. One of the things that the Department of Agriculture has done was they changed websites a couple of years ago, or about a year ago, really. And so with that, they went over and had actually a transition of things, so people do get mixed up on that website as far as going to the pesticide points. And I'll show you that here in just a second. There's been several questions on that. So as that's coming up, I will show you how to kind of get to that session. But the question that came up several times was that if I teach in the veterinary animal science program of study, I do not have a greenhouse at my school, but I teach agri-science, do I still have to have a pesticide license? The answer to that question is no. But it is recommended because of the chemical and pesticides content and the chemical content that's in there. It would be a good background for you to have, because there is a lot of that chemistry that you're dealing with, chemicals with cattle. Give you a good deep understanding more of how some of these different chemicals, because you do use pesticides on cattle far as insecticides and stuff like that when we do dewormers and stuff like that. So some of those things would be beneficial to help you understand a little bit more how some of that operates, how that kills and treats insects, or if you're dealing with pasture, a lot of those things that would help you with that. But it's not a requirement according to state law like it is with having a greenhouse. So that's your discretion. If you want to, that would probably be good to have, but you don't have to. So with that, it's a great question, but if you are in the greenhouse and you are the agri-science teacher, and you're basically teaching the animal science program of study, and you do have a greenhouse, and the other teacher teaches horticulture most of the time, but you're in that greenhouse with your agri-science students doing experiments, then yes, you would need to have your pesticide license with that, because they're going to check whoever is in the greenhouse with the students. Some of those, and I'm going to pick on Tony Grooms because he's right next to me on my screen there. So Tony, you're the lucky one right now. But for those of us that are more experienced, we remember when, as long as one teacher in the school had that certification, we all were covered. That law changed a few years ago, so it's now whichever teacher is in the greenhouse is the one that has to have that license. So basically, every teacher should go ahead and get that license, and that would be helpful there. I do want to take you here in just a second. I do want to mention that, and I'm going to share my screen here with you also. When you go to the Tennessee Department of Agriculture, you should see this screen here. If you go down to the bottom and click on the online pesticide certification, you will see this screen here, and this is what it's going to look like when you click on the pesticide commercial license. And let me back up one screen here. This is what actually comes up when you go down to the very bottom. You'll click on your commercial applicator points is what you need. And then when that comes up, you'll see this, and this is the new screen, the format. When you get this one, you know you're in the right place. Then you click on commercial private applicators license, and then this screen will come up, and you click in your last name or far as your PIN number, if you know that. I'm going to type in and Ryan Inman. And I apologize, Ryan, I didn't ask if I could do you, but I am going to do this for this session because I looked you up here just the other day, and I'm going to go through. But here's what you look for, and here's a question I've had a lot of people to email me on, and I want to make sure everybody understands on this is when you pull up your information, look here at this expiration date. That expiration date here, that's what you're looking for. Ryan's information here, his license expires in 2023, June 30th, 2023. That category of C10 requires 18 points. He's already earned 28 points. The thing is, you have to have 18 points. You can earn up to 17 points in 1 year during that 3-year cycle. So check this date here. If it says expires 2020 right here, you have till September 30th of this year because of COVID-19 to get any additional points. Now, looking down here at the bottom, you will see there's a gap here, and that's why I pulled Ryan's up. In the 17-18 school year, they changed how they reported pesticide points. It was on a physical, it went from a calendar year to a physical year. And so the points ended on December 30th, then it went to a physical year, as you see here. So there's some missing of points there. And prior to this time, they've got a new person in that's entering these at the Department of Agriculture, and the protocol prior to 2019, if you had enough points, they may not have entered the classes. So talking with the Department of Agriculture, they are now in the process of entering all the courses that you have, even if you have enough points. But if you are missing points or this date here of the expiration is 2020 of June, let me know, let me go back, follow up, because we pull this information from eTiger, and if your system had not attested, you may not have been in that system. They may have had something coded wrong, and therefore, when we were pulling the data and doing the sorting, your name may not have been in the correct spot. So I can add you back in if we're still in that window. Once we pass September of this year, I cannot add you back in. So please go back and check your points to make sure that you are in good standing, and your expiration date says 2023. So That's what I've got on pesticides. I wanted to clarify on that. And if you've got questions, you can go back to your the home screen where you logged into this session, and you can put some stuff in the chat there. That's a chat that Bill was talking about earlier. But if you, after you look up your points, you can definitely tell me on that. One of the things that I will also mention is what I will do. I will put that link in the chat so you can look and copy that off if you need to with that one. In it, there was a question about industry certifications. As far as National Safety Tractor and Machinery Operation Program, will that become an industry certification? Only way it has an opportunity is if you submit that. And that's one thing that with this new process that we mentioned, it was in the, and you can go to the files section on the login page for this session and download my agenda that I had for the Monday meeting, and it has that links for industry certifications for that process you can get with your CT director. Companies can also submit industry certifications, individuals, schools, you. One thing I would ask for you all to do is maybe combined efforts, and I know several people are looking at submitting some of the ICEV. You may want to get with Lonnie Johnson and some of them and their officials, maybe have them to submit that, so we just have maybe one application coming in instead of 100 applications coming in for those, because to tell you the truth, I have to review every one of them no matter what comes in. And so that would make it a little easier on me, but it doesn't matter whether 1 or 200 come in for the same industry certification. It's going to get graded, and it's going to go off of those point scales. So the volume of applications comes in has no bearing. One application will work just as well. So if there's any certifications that you're interested in, make sure you submit that. If it's one that you think several people are going to submit, talk with each other, and make sure at least one application gets submitted is what I'm asking you to do, is to make sure that we have those. But if they're not submitted, they won't get looked at. Another thing that want to make sure is that you go to the State Board of Education's website, Google that to make sure that you go to look at their information. Those were where the core standards were at. And so I'll put in the chat the links. I just put them in the chat for the links for you to go in and review the agenda and those changes for the ag business and the ag mechanics curriculum. If you want to do that, some were wanting that information there on that. And then for those that attended the session yesterday about making changes to the horticulture and animal science. As far as those programs are studied, we had links where you could provide feedback for that, and I just put those links in the chat where you can have easy access to that. And a big shout out, David Trapuka, I know is on here. David Trapuka was the first one to provide feedback. Thank you, David, for that. That helps us align our curriculum for that, and we do want to do that. Another issue that's came up that I do want to clarify for. You may hear more about it during the FFA update, but as far as our new way of going back to school this fall, a lot of systems still are not sure of how that's going to look or work. What we're seeing is probably going to be more hybrid courses or hybrid forms of going back, where some people are going to be in the physical classroom and some kids are going to be online. One of the things that's going to stay the same is your enrollment. So when you're far as Perkins enrollment, we are capped at 20 kids per class, just like normal. So if you have a class of 10 and you're maxed out, well, that 10 of those kids may be in class, then no more than 10 can be online, taken remotely. So don't feel any anxiety that you're going to have all your classes are going to be full, and then you're going to have a whole bunch of kids online also. You're still going to be at the same limit, no matter a student is a student, no matter where they're sitting, whether they're sitting in the desk in the classroom or online at home. So they're going to be that way. So if you're got 20 kids in the class, 10 of them or 15 could be in the classroom. The rest of them could be at home. And that bleeds over into your FFA membership. There's been some questions come up with that. If they're in your class, enrolled in your class, part of your instructional program, whether they're in the seat in your classroom or if they're online through your class, that's part of your program of study. You're teaching the standards. They're following the state standards. It's part of your class, part of those 20 in that class. Then they can be an FFA member. But if they're at your school and they're taking an online agriculture class about something from somewhere else, then no, they're not part of your instructional program. To be an FFA member, they have to be part of that school-based agriculture program. So I do want to clear that up because there's been some questions from CT directors, from teachers, wanting clarification with this new normal. What does CTSO and FFA membership look like? So I just wanted to clarify that as you go through, because we have had the question of, I've got some kids taking an agriculture class and we don't have an agriculture program here. Can they be FFA members? No. I've got some kids at my school that's not taking agriculture. We have agriculture, but they're taking online agriculture courses from here and different places. Can they be FFA members? No. They're not part of your program of study. They're not part of your content or your regular school-based ag ed program. No, they cannot be. If they're enrolled in that ag program at your school, yes. So I want to make sure you understand that, and I'll be glad to talk with any of your administrators if need be on that one. So with that, I've taken up some of the questions, some time with that have been coming back to me. I wanted to clarify on. Is there anyone that would like to ask some questions? Unmute yourself and ask away. Hello.
Good morning, Stephen.
Hey, Mr. Grooms.
Hey, I know, can you hear me well?
Yes.
Oh, good. You know, we were still concerned about the travel, and I don't know whether this is an appropriate question on this particular venue, but are there still going to be any travel at all with FFA? Do you know?
Well, that's probably going to be a better question for the FFA one Friday, but that's going to be probably very limited on that. We're not really looking at travel per se. Most of that stuff has been canceled. we're looking at more virtual type events with that, but I know the FFA staff has been working on that and still working on that as we're speaking now, because everything is so up in the air. There are some individual things going on. A lot of school systems are telling people no travel. And so that's what we're kind of preparing for, is just going everything virtually that we can and providing those opportunities of what CD events, what things can happen. I know Souls has been canceled and a lot of other things have been canceled. They are those team events that had those practicals, but yes, that's kind of where we're at. Other questions? Great question, Tony. Other questions?
Mr. Guest, I have one quick question. Just wanted to verify that if a student is taking a work-based learning and they are in an agriculture placement, that still counts as an agriculture class, right?
A great question. If it is considered an if it's an agricultural co-op or agricultural work-based learning class, if they are taking the work-based learning course and it's coded as work-based learning, no. Now, here's how you get around that. They need to also take the SAE course for credit. That first amount of time that they're using toward work-based learning, let's say if you've got an hour class, that first hour that they get for work release for work-based learning would count toward their work-based learning. The rest of that time could count toward their SAE credit class. By them being in that SAE credit class, they would be an FFA member, and that would qualify them to be an FFA member. So I would make sure I'm offering also that SAE course credit, and they can sign them up for that. That's what I would do to get around that. Great question. Other questions?
Hey, Steve, is there a list of the contest put out somewhere that's already been canceled or that will be on virtual?
They should have that all hopefully for Friday. Well, folks, we've got about 3 more minutes. Other questions? Other questions? Well, folks, I may be fixing to get myself in trouble again, which you all know I have done that frequently from time to time. I had a conversation with Buddy Crass and Jason Wallace and told him to be quiet until I could find out I could share this out. And I've kind of got, I haven't really got full permission to share this out, but darn it, I'm so excited. I can't help myself. It is on the website at State Board if you want to go look at it. As you know, there's a lot of things that people say, what do you do? There's a lot of things that I work on behind the scenes, and sometimes there's fruits of my labor nobody never sees, but one thing is coming out that I'm so excited about. I just found out about just the other day, and I had to call Buddy. I had to tell somebody, and so they were keeping it quiet. And I'm fixing to share my screen again. But as you all know, we've had agri-science, vet science, and applied environmental science that has counted as a science credit. Back last fall, they came to me and said they're taking agri-science off the list. It's no longer going to count for science credit. I was like a bull in a china cabinet. And I said, this ain't going to happen. And I went rogue. And I even said, we've got other classes that needed to be counted for substitute graduation requirements. And so I went hot and heavy on them. And we had several meetings, and they brought in some big dogs, and they started listening, and I had meetings and meetings. And so I turned in a list of courses, and I didn't get everything I asked for, folks. I will tell you that. But I did get more than we ever had before. So going to the State Board of Education. Oh, wrong screen. I am so sorry. Stop sharing. I have to go back. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to the board. Oh, I got to share it. I'm sorry. Going to the State Board of Education. I'll be darned. I'm just going to move that file over here, and then I'm going to share it to that screen. And that's where it's going every time. I don't know why that's happening. Technology is great as long as it works. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, you're going to see a list of courses that in ag that now count for math, science, economics, and fine arts starting this school year if State Board approves it. And from what I was told, there's no additional requirements for ag teachers to offer these. That could change, but for the fourth year math, Principles of Ag Business, and the fourth level course in Ag Mechanics count now as a math course. Hey, I'm tickled for that one. Third year lab science. We used to have just 3 courses in there. Look at that, people. We hit pay dirt. We've got the food science, environmental natural resources are in there. Plant and soil science. That one, it was just, I never could understand why we could not get that approved. We were able to get it approved. Ag business and finance. We've got the personal finance credit in there. Now we've got economics credit in there. That's going to open up a whole lot of avenue now for our kids. And landscape and turf now counts as a fine arts, substitutes for fine arts. So folks, we're going to have more information coming out on this. And this is on the agenda. If you go to those links for the State Board website, you can see these, and it says it's a roll call vote, no action required. So to actually take place for this coming school year. So we will have more information coming out on this, and you all are the first ones to hear this, other than Jason Wallace and Buddy Crafts. And so this is the first. So you just were stumbling along the website. So go look at the website, pull it down off the website, and print that off. And that's way it keeps me out of trouble too. But anyway, I wanted to share that with you all because this is some of the best news that we've had, and we'll probably have some more information to follow up on that at the TAAE business meeting and stuff that we have. Buddy and I've already been talking about that some, so I am super pumped about these opportunities and what it can have for our programs and for how it can support you and your program. So with that, I know we went over 3 minutes of our session time, but I thought that was some information that we needed to provide. And so with that, if you have any other questions, just include them real quick in the chat or send me an email with that. And Mr. Beal, we're ready for closing comments from you and the key word.
Hi, guys. Excuse me. That was quite productive. I don't have anything to close out from you guys. The keyword is football. I believe that this came to me with a leading capital F. So that's your keyword. If it doesn't work with capital F, try it with a lowercase. And that's all that I have for you for today.